Well, good morning, everybody. It is Saturday, June 5th, 2021, for those watching in the future. And today we are going to be almost through the 18th chapter of Acts. We won't quite get there. We're going to look at verses 18 to 23 today, and we will leave verses 24 to 28 for Monday. And tomorrow, since it's Saturday, tomorrow we have worship in the sanctuary at 10 o'clock. So there is no live stream of a devotion. But if you're joining us online, join us at 10 o'clock for the worship service online, or else come on in and join us in the sanctuary. We have worship in the sanctuary as normal, pretty much. Few restrictions, but we're getting almost back to normal. And I do want to let you know that next Sunday, the 13th, we do have a special speaker coming. Jim Mullen of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association will be here, a Billy Graham Association speaker. It's almost unheard of to have them in a local church, and we will be doing that on Sunday next week. So if you want to come and hear him, we will be live streaming that also. And then after service, we have a potluck. So promos out of the way, let's jump right into chapter 18, verses 18 to 23 today. Excuse me. After staying there for a considerable time, Paul said farewell to the believers and sailed for Syria, accompanied by Priscilla and Aquila. At Cenchreae, he had his hair cut, for he was under a vow. When they reached Ephesus, he left them there. But first he himself went into the synagogue and had a discussion with the Jews. When they asked him to stay longer, he declined. But on taking leave of them, he said, "I will return to you if God wills." Then he set sail for Ephesus. When he had reached Caesarea, he went up to Jerusalem and greeted the church, and then went down to Antioch. After spending some time there, he departed and went from place to place through the region of Galatia and Phrygia, strengthening all the disciples. Okay, so we've wrapped up the second ministerial journey or missionary journey, and we've jumped right into the third. So one of the things that will trouble us is when he says there that he went down to Antioch. Well, for us here in the Midwest, we would always look at that as going up, because you're going north, but you're going downhill from Jerusalem to Antioch. But okay, we are leaving Corinth. He's been in Corinth. He just went through appearing before the council, and the Gallo he said, "Nope, not getting involved," and all of that. And so now he's decided he stayed there for a while after that. So he was there over a year and a half, it seems, in Corinth. And now he's taken off. He's taken Priscilla and Aquila with him. I've had at least one person commentator that I was looking at criticized him for taking Priscilla and Aquila and for not staying longer in Corinth. Thought that Paul was wrong for that. Well, it's not uncommon for a local church to raise up leaders and then those leaders go off, and that's the way it works. So I don't fault Paul for bringing Priscilla and Aquila with him. They had taken care of him in Corinth, and now they're out with him on this going to be the third missionary journey. Paul, one of the interesting things in here, and the part that we're going to look at the most, is something that you probably missed completely. At Cenchreae, he had his hair cut, for he was under a vow. What is that all about? We're just going to go right by that. Well, in some manuscripts, down later in verse 21, you have an addition in some of the manuscripts. The NRSV doesn't pick it up, but a lot of books and translations do. In 21, where it says, "But on taking leave of them, he said, I will return to you if God wills." He's talking to the synagogue in Ephesus. He's got to Ephesus, and he left Aquila and Priscilla behind, and he himself went alone to the synagogue. He preached there, and so remember where he said he was only going to go to the Gentiles? Well, that was an overreaction. Here he is going back to the synagogue, and there they asked him to stay longer, and they wanted to visit with him, and he declined. He says, "I can't stay." And what's with that too? What's with this whole thing about this haircut, and then saying he can't stay, for crying out loud? They're not going to stone you. Why wouldn't you stay? But he says, "But on taking leave of them, he said, I will return to you if God wills." in that verse, where some translations say, but on taking leave of them, he said, I must at all costs keep the approaching festival in Jerusalem, but I will return to you if God wills. Paul here is under a vow. He's under a Nazarite vow, where he's got something he's supposed to do, some vow, some commitment that he's made to God, and until that commitment is finished and finalized, he has vowed not to cut his hair. That's part of the Nazarite vows. Remember Samson. So he is not to cut his hair until he's finished his vow. Well, the fact that he goes and gets his hair cut lets us know that his vow has been completed. Now, once the vow is completed, there's another step that you have to go. You've got to go to the temple and offer sacrifice. So he's heading up to a festival. Most people believe that he's heading up to a Passover festival and that he's heading to Jerusalem. He doesn't talk much about being in Jerusalem here. He went up to Jerusalem, greeted the church, and then he went to Antioch. They don't even really get into anything there. But the reason he's going to Jerusalem is not to see the church, but to do that, to finish that vow, to finish his sacrifice, and then he's got places to go and people to see. He's going to go back to Antioch and bug out again, because all of his missionary journeys head out of Antioch. Okay. What we want to look at that as, and we want to pick up from that, is that he is laser focused on staying true to this vow to God. One of the problems that a lot of people have is that it shows how Jewish Paul really is still, and he's going to remain that way, because remember, where's he arrested? He's arrested in the temple doing a Nazarite vow, doing a Nazarite ritual, rather. So, and the Nazarites were fairly devout, and so the fact that he is a Pharisee is practicing some of the more focused and more strict Jewish traditions. Tells you that Paul doesn't think of himself as anything but a Jew. All right, he is Jewish, thoroughly Jewish. He follows the practices, except for the circumcision, and they're talking about the laws. But here, when he's talking about this being under a vow, and the point again, I'm going to return back. I kind of got sidetracked there. He is under a vow. He views that vow as so sacred that he is going to decline to try to talk to folks at Ephesus. I've got to get to the temple. That's important that I complete this vow. When I make a commitment to God, I have to complete it. Now, what would the world be like if more of us believed that today? When we make a commitment to God, we complete it. We don't make a commitment to God frivolously. We don't do that. We don't do that, and when we do it, it is something we have to complete at all costs, even if it means that I don't stay here and preach to you, which we would look at as a missed opportunity, perhaps, but in reality, it's showing Paul's commitment to finishing that vow that he made to his Lord. The world would be better off if we kept our marital vows, if we kept our baptismal vows, down the list, all of the things that commitments we make to God. Where would the world be at if people took those things more seriously as Paul's taking this vow that he's going to commit? We don't know what the vow is. He doesn't tell us that. Luke barely even mentions it. I mean, it's the whole thing is really just a short little blip that he has at in here, almost an aside. But it's very, very important, I think. This shows us the mind of Paul, shows us where we should be at on our commitment level to God. So with that, I'm going to let you go for Saturday and ask you to have a very blessed day, and to please be a blessing to someone today. Again, we will be in worship service tomorrow at 10, live streaming from the sanctuary, or join us there. And please, on the 13th, mark your calendars. If you can get up here, even if you can only see it on the live stream, but if you can get to church, by golly, that's the day, Sunday to get to church, because it should be a wonderful day. Have a blessed one. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.